Now I'm very, very excited to present, Kelly and I are very, very excited to present the GTRA Vanguard Award. Now, I actually had to look this up. I like the word, but I didn't really know what it meant. I know a lot of awards were called this. And a vanguard is defined as the foremost position in an army or fleet advancing into battle, or the foremost or leading position in a trend or movement. So we are giving this to one individual every year who's exemplified this both at the agency and department level, to the federal IT community as a whole, and also to GTRA as an organization. And before I ask this year's recipient to come on stage, I just want to share a few words as to why we chose this person. And then we'll have the privilege of honoring him and hearing a few words from him. So I was introduced to John Teeter from HHS about, I guess, 5 years ago when I first started this. It was through George Thomas, who's at HHS, was one of our first Chief Architect Council members. And he got me introduced to Mary Forbes and Deb McKeldin, who was there at the time, and all these people. They're like, you got to meet John Teeter. I'm like, who is this John Teeter guy? And we finally met, and I got a meeting, and he was so nice. And at the time, I had just started out in IT, so my meetings were much more of me just taking notes and saying, and then going back and Wikipediaing everything I just heard and trying to educate myself on what I just talked about. John became really active with us. He introduced me to so many people and really became a champion for us, and which is how we got a lot of HHS folks involved. And as a young organization, trying to do what we do with the people we're trying to get involved, you need folks like John to step to the plate and say, this is worth your time. My peer and my other agencies, please get involved. And I remember after 3 or 4 times of him coming and speaking, we were at the bar here, downstairs, having a drink. And I just frankly asked him, I said, John, look, why do you support us? We're a young organization. We're not as big as we are now. And I'm curious, what is it about us? And I was frankly, I don't know as much as some of the other folks who are trying to work with you. What is it about us? And he said, Parham, I really do this because I want to make a difference in the community. I want to make a difference for my country. And when I see GTRA, when I talk to you, and I talk to Kelly and your team, I feel that you guys are in it for the same reasons, and that's why I choose to support you. And this was one of those things that I'll never forget, because it was obviously very flattering for me as a business owner to hear that, but it was more so, a very telling comment that John made about his values and his personality and his priorities. Like many of you in this room, he could go anywhere. He could have gone anywhere for a long time and made a lot more money. And many of you can do that. And it's always very inspiring to me when I see you, especially knowing all of the challenges that you put up with, and you do it year after year after year. And it's not because of the glitz or the glory. It's because you actually care about making a difference. And whoever it is you're supporting, but your employees, your bosses, the country, at the end of the day. And I think this is so amazing. And John really has had a tremendous impact on HHS, on health IT, and the federal community as a whole. Some of the accomplishments over his 27-year career at HHS include forming the HHS CTO Council, launching HHS federated approach to OCIO programs, developing HHS program integration within the OCIO, having successful strategies that improve efficiency, interoperability, and information sharing. And perhaps most challenging is supporting eGov initiatives without losing sight of the mission of HHS. I hear this all the time, that it's so hard for me to, as not executives tell me this, that it's so hard for me to balance, what OMB and these folks are telling me to do with what my agency expects me to do. And it's a real skill, and it's hard to do that. And John, by all accounts, has definitely succeeded in that. But from my perspective, the most important trait of a leader and of someone who deserves this award is the person's reputation. John is absolutely loved by everyone I've talked to about him. And I talk about you a lot, apparently. He's a mentor to many. He's a very genuine individual. And one of my favorite characteristics about people is when they're humble. John is a very humble man. He's achieved so much and accomplished so much. But never once have I talked to him from day one to today has he ever made me feel anything less than an equal. And I think that's a true mark of a leader. And I think a quote from Mary Forbes, who is the chief architect at HHS and a good friend and longtime colleague of John's, says it best. Mary says, John is a visionary and change agent with a passion for using EA to affect positive outcomes. He addresses each new business requirement or mandate as an opportunity to achieve the mission and advance the enterprise. He has provided inspirational leadership across the federal space with a focus on increased efficiency, interoperability, and information sharing. And with that, it's my privilege and honor to present Mr. John Teeter with this year's GTRA Vanguard Award.
So, hard to follow that. So first off, let me thank GTRA and certainly Parham and Kelly for doing such wonderful work here. I really do believe that they have the same interests as we all have. But I want to tell you, anytime somebody stands up here or any place else and gets an award, they have not accomplished that by themselves. They've not been recognized for the isolated things that they do. They've had many partners in doing things. So I've been very blessed to have some very good partners over the years. Certainly GTRA has been one of those partners. I've had the pleasure of working with people like Bob Haycock and Dick Burke and Shmendra Paul and Colleen Coggins and Mary Forbes and Norm Lawrence and Mark Foreman and on and on and on and on, and too many to name. And so they're the ones that really allow us to do things that we couldn't really do before. And they're the ones that give us the energy to keep on going and beating your head against the wall when somebody doesn't really get what you're trying to say. Nobody's ever experienced that, right? And so, I've been at this for decades. And, when you do things for decades, you start to get older. And so when you get older, you can take liberties. And so some of those liberties are to offer advice, and whether it's good advice or not, you still get you still get a pass because you're old, And so anyway, I'm going to give everybody a little bit of advice, and that is surround yourself with good people. Make sure that they have a passion for doing the things that you have a passion for. And hope that you're blessed that they're smarter than you are. Because that's really when the sum becomes greater than the parts. And so with that, I think what I'll do is I'll just say, I have the honor of accepting this, and I will keep it. But I appreciate everybody else that helped me get up to this stage. So thank you very much.